Hello everybody and welcome to another video. We're going to be learning how to model and detail structural beams in Revit. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to come here and click on new, and I'm just going to browse for a structural template I can use. I'm in the Imperial folder, so I'm just going to switch here to English. I'll scroll down here, and if you're familiar with our what they call it, our videos, you know that we've been using this template for our structural what they call it, modeling. So this structural analysis defaults GBRENU, that's specific to Great Britain and the European Union. That's the .rte file. I'm just going to click on open, and I'll go ahead and click on OK. All right, good. So I'm going to be creating a project from that template. All right, great. Now, once we've done that, I just want to go ahead and quickly model some grid lines. So just come to the structures tab. You can actually access grid lines as well from the architecture tab, but since we're working mostly on structures, why not? So I'll come to the datum, I'll click on grid, I'll come here and click here, draw a grid line here. All right, great. So that's grid line 1. I'll come here, I'll space at about 4 meters, click here, draw another grid line. I can come here and click on pick lines, put in an offset here, put here 4,000, come here, grid line 3, and I'll put here grid line 4. All right, great. So click on modify or escape. Now I'm going to come here and click on grid here again, and I'll come in this direction. I'll go here all the way to this side and then click on modify. I'll click on this grid line here and I'll change it here to A. All right, good. So once we've done that, I'm just going to go ahead and I can use copy as well. So there are many ways you can modify grid lines. So I'll click here, move downwards. I'm going to put here 3,000. There we go. And I'll move downwards here, put here 3,000 again. There we go. Once I'm done, I'll just press escape. All right, good. I'm going to click on one of these grid lines. You can see all of them are locked. And I'm just going to click on the extent, move it up a bit. All right, so we're utilizing enough space. All right, good. Now we're going to go ahead and model our beams. So I'll come to the structures tab again. I'll click on beams and I'm going to click on the drop down, and we're going to be using rectangular beams. So I'll start here with this 300 by 600. I'm going to change the material. So under materials and finishes in the properties dialog box, I'll click here, click on the 3 dot icon, which opens up the material browser. There we go. And I'm going to search here for C2530, which should be common building material. And here you can see this is what is available, but I want to use this, which is not in the project. So if you don't see it open like this, it might be collapsed like this. So all you want to do is you want to expand material libraries, you select this and you click on this button here to add into the document. All right, good. So once that's been established, I'll click OK. Now I'm going to come here and click on edit type, and I'm going to duplicate under this family, which is concrete rectangular beam. I'll click on duplicate here, and I'm going to call this here 230. I'll put here by, I'll put here x450. All right, great, mm, and I'm going to put here the actual dimensions. Okay, so 450, that's fine. Click OK. Great. So we've established the material as well. Now I'm also going to set the cover before I model. So for the top face here, I'll leave it on 30. For the bottom face, I'm going to change it here to 35, and for the other faces, I'll change it here to 35 as well. All right, good. So now I'm just going to come here. I'm going to click on this intersection, that is 1A, and I'll move all the way in this direction, and I'll go ahead and click. All right, you can see the chain option is turned on, so it allows me to continue placing my beams. So I'm going to go all the way around just like this. All right, great. So once I'm done, I can just go ahead and press escape. Now I want to draw a beam from here to here. That is from 1B to 2B. So I'll click here and I'll place one here, press escape, place one here, place one here, press escape. All right, good. Now I'm just going to press escape again. Now I want to have a cantilevered beam around here. So what I'm going to do, instead of adding another grid line, I can just click here on reference plane. So I'll click here and draw a reference plane in this direction. And then I'll select that reference plane and I can just go ahead and modify the cantilever dimension. So I'll click here, I'll type here 1500. So that's going to be the length of my cantilever. Now I'll select this beam and I'll drag it here. The same thing for this, I'll drag it here. The same thing for this, I'll drag it here as well. I can select any of these beams and I can use the shortcut CS to create similar. So you can see we have the 23450 beam. I'll click here, and I'll press escape. And you can see here that this is not using the actual cover, so I'll select it and I'm going to go here and set it here to 35, and I'll set this here to 35. Now if you want to be sure that every other beam is using that exact dimension, you can right click, go ahead and click on select all instances in the entire project, and you can see that everything is not. So other faces here, I'll set this here to 35. All right, good. So we have 7 beams. Now I'm going to go ahead and add another beam here. So I can just come back here to structure, I click on beam, I'll click on edit type, and I'll duplicate, and I'm going to call this here, let's call this 600 mm. All right, so I want to have a different beam in between, so put this here 600. There we go. Great. So 600 here. I'm just going to go ahead and add a beam like this from here to here. There we go. Good. I'll press escape. Now I'm just going to come back here to beam, come here to the top, and I'll switch this here to 450. And might as well always remember to always set the cover when you're modeling. So I'm just going to place one here. There we go. And I'll place another one here. Great. So for this one here, I need to set it as well. So this is 30, 35, and I'll set this here to 35 as well. So just going to scroll where I have 35. There we go. All right, good. So if you want to see what we've been doing so far, we can just come to the view tab and we can click on default 3D view to see how everything looks. Just switch this quickly to hidden line. We can see all our beams so far. Now let's go ahead and place columns. Keep in mind that currently we're on level 2 and I want to have columns below and above this level. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come here to any of these building elevations. Let's use north for instance. You can see the beams we've modeled is on level 2. So what I'll do is I'll come to the structures tab and I'll click on level. And I'm just going to come over here, click here, and you can see level 3 is automatically created. Just click on modify. And for the sake of this particular exercise, we're just going to use here 3000. So I'll type here 3000. There we go. So we have level 1, 2, 3. Might as well just drag these grid lines above as well as this reference plane. All right, so if I come here to level 2, we're going to go ahead and model our column. So structures tab, click on column, and we're going to switch it here to this concrete rectangular column. Let's use 300 by 450 as a start. We're going to change the material. We'll click inside here and I'm just going to scroll and look for C2530 that we loaded earlier on. And then for the faces, I'm going to set this here to 35, set this here to 35, and I'll set this here to 35 as well. All right, good. I'll click on the edit type, I'll duplicate this, and I'm going to call this here 230 by 230 as well. All right, so just remove that to there, and then I'll set the dimensions to 230, and I'll set this here to 230 also. I click on apply and okay, great. Now for the modeling, we're going to set it here to a depth, go to level 1. So I'm just going to click here, place one here, place one here, place one here, one here, one here, one here, and just going to place it all the way to this point. Great, so click on modify. Now I'm just going to zoom in and select one of them. I'll right click and I'll click on select all instances in the entire project, and you can see all of them here. We have 12 of them. I'm just going to go ahead and change the top level here to level 3, and now click on apply. You can see now that they have a thicker cut, what they call it, pattern at the edges here. So we're going to select one of the columns, right click, override graphics in view by category, and what we're going to do is that we're going to go ahead and change the cut line, pattern here. So we're going to set it here to solid, and we'll put the color here as this black. I'll go ahead and click on apply and okay. And now you can see, we can clearly see all these columns are going above this level. Now let's go ahead and place a structural slab. Come to the structures tab, I'll click on floor here, and we'll start this generic 300. And let's go ahead and set the cover. I'm going to be using a 30 mm cover for all faces. Right, 30 is fine. Apply. It's going to be on level 2, which we are currently. And I'm going to click on edit type, and I'm going to duplicate. So let's just call this a 150 mm floor. All right, good. Or 150 mm is fine. Now to change the thickness, we need to click on edit here. And first of all, we'll change the material. Click on the 3 dot icon, select this C2530, and then click OK. For the thickness, we'll set this here to 150. Click OK, and that's it. I'll go ahead and click on apply, OK, and we're going to draw the floor. Now, being a structural floor, I'm just going to come here and click on rectangle. I'm going to be placing it from the centers here. So I'll click here, and I'll come all the way to this point and click here. There we go. Good. Now it's very important that you have here this span direction, and if you don't have the span direction, what you can do is you can click on span direction, make sure pick line is set, and then just select any point to be your span direction. If not, the floor would not be created. I'll go ahead and click on finish, and now you can see our floor has been created. If I go to the 3D view, we can also see the model as well. Now we're going to go ahead and do something in this case where we want the floor, for instance, rather the beams to cut through the floor, and I'll actually explain shortly. So to do this, what I'll do is that I'll first of all come here, I'll select the floor like this, right click, and I'll come here to override graphics and view by category, and I'll set the transparency to 40. I'll click on apply and OK. Now if you look very closely, let me just deselect, you can see here that the floor is cutting through the beams. So what we're going to do is that we're going to switch it in the other direction. So first of all, let's clear out all these annotations in this 3D view. I can come to the graphics tab under the properties panel, click on edit, come to annotation categories, and I'll just turn this off. All right, good. So now I'm just going to go ahead and come to the modify tab, and I'm going to come here where we see join under the geometry group. Click on this drop down and click on switch join order. Now I'm going to click on multiple switch, then I'll select the floor like this, click on the front view, and then I'll make a selection over all the beams, and I'll go ahead and let's go. All right, good. Let me just click on the modify tab to exit the tool, click here, and now if I select the floor, you can see now that the beams are cutting through the floor. Right, if I go ahead and select the floor like this, and I come here and click on this button, oops, not this button rather, so select this and click on this button to isolate the floor or isolate the elements, you can see here that the beams are cutting through the floor, which is exactly how you want it to behave. All right, good. If I come to the what they call it, to the level 2, you can now see that they appear as hidden lines as well. So I'll delete this one-way slab symbol. We don't need that for now. I'm just going to go ahead and delete it, and let's place simple dimensions. So to do that, let me just switch this here to 1 to 50. All right, and then I'll click on this gridline, move it up a bit. Under the modify tab, I'll come here and click on measure, or the align dimension rather. I'll click here to add the distance between the spans. There we go. And then I'll add the full length as well, and I'll do the same thing as well in this direction. There we go, and I'll add the spans. All right, great. Now we're going to go ahead and add tags to the beams here. So first of all, I'm just going to select this first beam here, and what I'm going to do is just going to scroll down, and we're just going to see mark. I'm going to call this here BM1. I'll click on apply. All right, good. So I'm going to select these 3 beams here. I'll select this, hold down Control key and select this, and I'm going to assign to them the same mark. Now you're going to notice that Revit is going to give you a warning here telling you that elements have duplicate marks. In this case, let's just accept it. You may also see a show related option set here, or rather a show related warning over here. So in this case, I choose to accept it. What you could actually do as well is you can just say this is BM2_1, BM2_2, BM2_3, if that's fine, but I like everything being the same. So I'll select this one here, and I'll set it here to BM3. I click on apply, and then from here I'll set this here to BM4. I'll go ahead and set this here to BM5. I'll set this here to BM6. I'll set this here to BM7. There we go. And I'll set this last one here to BM8. All right, great. So we have 8 beam chains. So once we've done that, we're going to tag. Now to tag, we need to come to the Annotate tab, and we click on Tag by Category. We're going to be using a structural framing tag. Now to do that, we can find here under this option loaded tags and symbol. Now you need to make sure that you have a loaded tag for structural framing. So I'll search here structural framing. Great. So structural framing, so there's a loaded tag here. If I click on the drop down, we see we have different options. I'll just start with this standard here, click OK, and I'll turn off my leader line, and I'm just going to move to this first beam, and you can see this is the tag that appears on it. I'll click on it and then click on modify. Now in this case here, I don't really like how this tag appears, so I'll just select it and I'll click on edit family. Now we're editing the tag. The first thing I'm going to do is I'll click on the tag label, and I'll click to drag its extent out a bit, and likewise as well I'll change the size. So we see we only have it set here to 3 mm, so I'll click on edit type, and I'll set this here to 2. That's fine. Apply, and I will also rename this here as well. Now I'll just set here to 2 mm. There we go. Good. No, we don't need to adjust this border here. Now for this only shows size, and I want it to show the marker as well. So I'll select it, click on edit label, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to search here for mark, and it's just going to scroll up. Great, we have mark. I'll include that in, and I want it to come before my type name, so I'll have it selected here and I'll move it upwards. All right, so I want to put a suffix after the mark, so I'll just put a space and I'll put a dash here. All right, and I'll click OK. Good. So this is a sample of how it will appear. Now I can as well also select this, come back to edit type, and I can change the color. Let's just use a blue color here. All right, good. And I'll load it back into the project. I'm not saving for now, so I'll click on no and I'll overwrite. All right, great. So you can see this appears as beam 1, 230 by 450. I can also select it as well, and I can just move it closer. All right, good. Now if you want to quickly tag all the beams in view, what you could do is you could come back here to the Annotate tab, and I can click here on tag all, and I'll come here and search for structural framing. So structural framing, there we go. So make sure that the actual tag you want to use, I'm using the standard, is set, and then I'll just check this, and I don't want to add a leader. All objects in view, in current view, is what I want to tag, and I'm just going to click here on apply, and I'll click OK. And now you can see all the beams have been tagged. And what I'll do here is I'm just going to modify some of them. So I'll select this, hold down the control key, select this tags, there we go. All right, great. I don't want them to fall in between the span, so I'll use my up arrow key to nudge it up a bit. Great. And then what I can do is I can go ahead and click on copy. I'll copy from this midpoint, I'll paste one here as well, and I'll click on modify. All right, great. So you can see some tags here, they've lost their association, where this one is associated to beam 3. So I can select this here, click on pick new host and select this here, pick new host and select this. All right, good. The same thing as well, I'll select this one as well. So I'll just come here and type CO for copy, and I'll paste one here and here. I'll come here and paste one here, and I'll paste one here. So you can see here that they lose their host quite easily. So I can select this, hold down control key, select this as well. Oops, I have to select them one by one actually. So I have to select it, pick new host. There we go. Select it, pick new host. Great. Select this and pick a new host, likewise as well, and pick new host. All right, good. So now we've gone ahead and added it. We could also as well add it for the cantilever as well. If there is a lot of space, I want to make sure that everything is aligned. So I want to align this one as well. This as well, just want to align it here. There we go. All right, presentation is key. All right, great. So I'll hold down control key, I'll select this 3, and I'll come here and type copy or click on copy, and then I'll just click here, and then I'll paste it somewhere around here. Press escape. Good. So we want to make sure that the right associations are there. So this is correct, this is not correct. So I'll click on pick new host, select this, and just like that, we've added it. Now in the case you have tags that are clashing, you can see this here is clashing with a beam, although it's not too bad. What you could do is you could actually just select it, and you can add a leader line. All right, so with that leader line, you can just move it away. All right, and then if you come to edit type, you can set a leader arrowhead. I'm going to use here 20 degrees, click on apply and OK, and now you can see the leader arrowhead. Now I want it to show that it is this portion of the beam, so I'll change it here from attached end to free end. I'll drag it out a bit here, and then I'll just add a anchor like this. All right, to make the detail much better at presentation. So I'll delete these ones here, and I'll make this use of this as well. So I'll copy, I'll paste this one here, and I'll paste this one here. And you can see this is the right association, but this is not. So I'll click on the tag, pick new host, select this, and now this is correct. All right, now we're going to create a section that acts as our beam elevation. So to do that, in the view tab, click on section, and before we draw the section, I'll click on edit type. I'll click on duplicate, and I'm going to call this here beam, and I'll put here direction X, and there's a reason for that we'll see very shortly. I'll click OK and OK. All right, good. So I'm just going to come over here, click to this point just before the first face of the beam, and I'll move all the way to this direction and click. I'll click on the file clip offset and drag it down a bit, and I'll go over here and change the name of that section to beam 1 so we can identify it in the project. Now we can go ahead and open up the section, just go and open it up, and you can see how it looks. I'll click on the level, right click, and I'll hide in view by category, And likewise as well, I'll change the scale here to 1:50. All right, that's good. Now I'm going to click on this crop region here, and I'm going to click on edit crop. I always kind of like to be specific on the extents as well as trying to utilize space on my paper. So I'm just going to come here and I'll drag this to this point. I'll set it here to 300. There we go. Click on this point here. I'll measure it to this point here, and I'll set this here to 300 as well. I'll click on finish, and now we see we have a region. I'll go over here and turn off the crop region visible, and now we can see our beam elevation. Now I'm going to make some modifications here to this view. So first of all, we can see the thickness of the cut lines for the slab and the beams, which I feel is a bit too much, and you'll be able to actually see it as long as your thin lines is not turned on. So it's right now it's turned on. If I turn it off, you can see the actual thickness of the cut lines. So I'll select the slab and I'll select the beam by holding down Control key. I'll right click and override graphics in view by category. Right click, override graphics in view by category. And I'm going to set here the cut line pattern, set it here to solid, and I'll set here the weight here to 2. If I click on apply, you can see this is much better. We still want to show that it's a cut line, so different from the projection line. Alright, great. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and add the dimension. So if I come to the modify tab, I'll click on align dimension. First of all, add the full dimension or to this point here, and then I'll add the spans, all right, between the continuous beams. So all the way to this point, there we go, to the cantilever, there we go. And then I'll add here the width for the supports just beneath from the faces of the columns. So you can see here that I've mistakenly selected this, so I'll click here to remove it. There we go. So from here to here, great, all the way to this point, and then I'll just come here and let's go. All right, good. Now I want to show a symbol that this column is stopping at this point. So what I'll do is I'll come here back to the Annotate tab, and under this you'll see a detailed field region rather. So I'll select this, and what I'm going to do is I'll set it here to thin lines, and I'll come here and click here, and I'll come here and just add a symbol like this. I don't really need to be too specific. Just come here. Let me just add another line here. There we go, up to this point. Great. And then I'll just add another line here. Alright, good. I'll press escape. Now I'll come here and I'll switch here to invisible lines, and I'll click here, I'll click here. There we go. Great. So I said I wasn't going to be too specific, but I really want this to be closely related as possible. Alright, great. Very good. So I'll select these 2 lines here, just kind of move it down a bit. There we go. I'm gonna move it here. Just want it to fall somewhere around the center. That's fine. Great. So if I click on finish, you can see this is how it looks like, and what I can do in this case is I can use my arrow key to nudge it down a bit, and you can see that shows the symbol. Now I'm going to select this here. I'll come here and click on edit type. I'll come here and duplicate, and I'll call this here solid white. All right. Okay, great. Now for the foreground fill pattern, I'll set this here by clicking on that dot icon. I'll scroll up, set it to solid fill, and I'll change this color here to white, and I'll click OK. There we go. So I'll select this here, and I'll type CO for copy, and I'll copy from this point, and I'll place it anywhere where we have a discontinued column. We don't have one here, and that's fine. And I want to do the same thing at the bottom. So I can select this one, for instance, and I can come here and use my mirror draw axis. Find the center of this beam, click here, and you can see we have the same symbol here. Type CO for copy, and then I'll just come here and paste it in those other directions as well. All right, great, good. So this is a very nice detail. And also I want to adjust the dimension. I don't want this here to be too close to the reference, so I'll select it and I'll click on edit type. I'll change this here to gap to elements. I'll change it here to fixed line, and I'll click on apply, and there we go. We can distinguish between the dimensions and the actual beam elevation. All right, now I'm going to cut a detail section between the beams. To do that, I'll come back here to the view tab, and I'll click on section, click on the drop down. I'll switch here to detail, and I'll click on edit type. Now I'm going to duplicate. I'll call this here beam alone. All right, good. Once that's done, I'll click OK, and now I'm just going to move and click in this direction and move all the way here. All right, good. So I just make sure the far clip offset is not too far away. I'm going to name this here beam 1 _1. All right, good. And likely as well, I want to change this symbol here. I'll just come here, make sure that the beam detail view is selected, edit type, and where we have section tag, we're just going to click on this 3 dot icon, and then for the section head, I'll click on the drop down here, and I'm going to set it here to section tilde field horizontal, and you can see that is what is being used in the background as well. So what I'll do is I'll switch here to, instead of field horizontal, I'll switch here to field instead, so it will flip in the other direction. So if I click apply OK and OK here, you can see this is how it appears. Now I'm just going to add a gap in elements here, and then I'll just use my arrow key to nudge it a bit to the side. All right, so towards the center, around here is fine. Very good. Now I'm just going to go ahead and open it up, and we can see the section, and we don't need the grid line or the levels, so I'll select it, hold down Control key, select the level, right click, and I'll hide in view by category. Now for the section, I'm going to switch this here to 1 to 25, that's fine. And we can see we have a section appear in this view, so I'll right click on it and I'll hide in view by category. All right, so now I'm going to click on the crop region. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that it fits the beam like this. There we go. All right, so once it's fine, I can now come back and just close this, come back to beam 1. I'll select this and I'll just come here and click on copy. I'll copy from here and I'll place another one maybe around here. It doesn't have to be through all the span, so I'll place one here, and I'll place one at the cantilevered region as well. Now the good thing is, as you copy, you see the name also changes as well. This is beam 1_2 and this is beam 1_3. All right, great. If you open it up as well, you can see the same settings are also available for what we used earlier on. All right, good. All right, now if you look very closely, you might notice that we have some columns not joined properly with the slab, or their join order is in the other direction. So what we can do is you can just come back here and open up that 3D view, and we're going to come back here, just orbit around the bits. We'll come back to switch join order. We'll come here and select the slab, and then just come here and click on the front face, and I'll make a selection from the bottom right and then select all the columns. All right, good. So now we have the columns cutting through the slabs. If I come back here to beam 1, you can see that issue is gone. All right, so let's go ahead and open up this section here. Let me close the 3D view to keep it simple. All right, good. So we have our beam. We're going to add reinforcements inside. So if I select it like this, I'll click here on rebar. Since it's the first row we're placing in the project, you're going to be greeted with this warning. Just click OK. And here we're just going to go and scroll down. We're going to start with traversal reinforcement, shape 52. And we're going to choose the size of H10. We're going to change the layout here to maximum spacing. We'll set the spacing here to 250. All right, and I'm going to come here and place it here, and I'll click. All right, good. Once we're done, just go ahead and click on modify. Now, if you select this, if you come to beam 1, you would also be able to see the reinforcement here as well. All right, good. Now I'm just going to go over here and adjust the position. I don't want to hit the face of this beam here. I could as well also use constraints, but that's for this tutorial might be too lengthy. So let's just go ahead and place it like this. And once we've done that, we're just going to come here and click on copy. I'll copy from this point here, place another one here. I'll place another one here, and I'll place one here. And I'll press escape. I'll click on this grid points, shape handle here, and I'll drag it all the way to this point. There we go. All right, good. Now maybe for this cantilever here, I'm going to change it here to around 150. All right, for the example. Good. All right, so now that we place all the traversal reinforcements, I'm just going to select one as it is, right click, select all instances visible in the view, and I'll set the presentation to show first and last in the set. All right, good. Now that we've done that, let's come back here into beam 1 and place the longitudinal bars. You're also going to notice as well that you can see the reinforcement falls within the cover provision. So if you change the cover by any chance, the reinforcement will also adjust to the constraints. So I'll select the beam again. I'll click on rebar, and now I'm going to add a straight bar 0, 0. And in this case, I'm going to switch here to parallel to cover. The first we used was parallel to work plane. I'll set the layout here to fixed, and I'll set the quantity here to, let's use 2. And I'll click on enter. There we go. And then I'm going to change this size here to H16, and I'll move over here towards the right. You can see to change the orientation. If I move upwards, it changes the orientation. So I want to move here, and I'll place the reinforcements. Good. Once I'm done, I'll go ahead and select it, and I'll just come here. I can use the mirror tool. So mirror draw axis. Find the center, click here, and I can place the other bar. Now if I come to this view here, we can see our longitudinal reinforcements is going to be placed inside here. It doesn't go all the way to the end, so we can easily fix that. If we select this, we can go ahead and drag the extent all the way to this point. In the same way as well, we'll do it for the bottom, drag the extent all the way to this point. And you will notice as well that the reinforcement appears with different colors depending on their size. So let's remove that setting. It's actually from the template. If I come to the Manage tab and I come here to Object Styles, I'm going to search here for rebar. All right. You can see here we have styles for different sizes. So I'll select 6, hold down the Shift key, select 50. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete these subcategories. I'll click on yes, there we go. If I click on apply, you can now see that all of them now have the same color. Now for this view, I'm going to change here the detail level here to coarse, so they just appear as lines. All right, good. Now what we're going to do now is splice the bar. If I select this bar, you can see this is about 13.6 meters in length, and that's far longer than what we would expect in real life. So I'll select this bar here, and if you're using Revit 2025, you have this option here to splice rebar. I'm going to change this splice option here to end to end, and I'm just going to come here towards where we have the cantilever. I want to make sure that I have it in a bit, and I'm just going to go here, just make sure I place the splice around here. I'll click here, and then when we're done, just click on finish. Now you can see this appear as 2 bars. I'm going to add a crank later on. Likewise as well, we'll do it for the bottom. So I'll select this, I'll click on splice bar, and I want to be careful here that I'm not splicing at the mid span for the bottom, and for the top I'm not splicing directly at the support. Very, very important. So here I can decide to splice maybe around here, not too close to the center, maybe around here is fine. I'll just come here and click here, and then I'll click on finish, and now you can see these are 2 separate bars. All right, good. All right, now let's go ahead and add the cranks. To do that, I'll go ahead and select this bar here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come and click on edit sketch. All right, so I'll click here on line. I'm going to add a segment here, and I'll add a segment here just before the support face. I'll press escape, and then I'll click on finish, and here it's going to tell you wants to remove the splice, so just click on remove splice. Now I'll select this bar here, and I'll drag the extent just to show that it is being cranked at this point here. There we go. Now I'll select this bar here, and what I'll do is I'll come here to hook at start, and I'll set this here to 90 degrees. If I click on apply, you can see it appears. Now if this doesn't work for you, all you need to do is just come here and place it on hook at end. Now if the hook is in the other direction, all you need to do is come here and then put here 180, so it flips to the other direction. In this case, that's not my case. All right, good. So in the same way, I'm also going to do it for this bar here. If I select it, I'll click on edit sketch, and I'll come here and I'll add a crank here, a visible crank. There we go. Press escape, click on finish, and then I'll remove the splice. So there are now 2 different bars. If I come here, I'll just drag this a bit away. There we go. And I'll select this bar here. Now add here hook at start 90 degrees. There we go. And I want to make sure the hooks are not too close to each other for that detail. All right, so just drag this one out a bit. There we go. And I'll do the same thing at this other direction. Now the idea is that none of these segments now exceed 11 or 12 meters. So in the same way, I'll come here, hook at start. Great. So you can see the hook at start has gone to this direction. That's not what we want. So I'll change it here to hook at end. All right, 90 degrees. There we go. I'll select this one here as well. This one, hook at end, 90 degrees. Great. So I'll select this one here, and I'll drag it a bit to the side. There we go, to show that visible detail. All right, great. All right, now let's go ahead and tag the reinforcements. All right, so before we do that, I want to actually change the color of how the rebar looks. So I'll select one of them, I'll right click, and I'll click on override graphics in view by category. Now these are all projection lines, so I'll just come here and I'll change the pattern here to solid, and I'll change the color here to red. All right, good. And the line weight as well, I'll change it to 3 so it's much more visible. If I click on apply, you can now see how it looks like in the background. All right, great. Now to tag the reinforcements, what I need to do is come to the Annotate tab, and I'll come here and click on tag by category. Now I'm going to come here to loaded tags and symbols, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and search here for rebar. All right, good. Now under structural rebar, that's this category here, I'm going to click on the drop down and I'm going to look for quantity type and number. I'll click on OK. All right, good. And now if I move close to the reinforcement, you can see a sample of how it looks like. So this shows the quantity, the type, and the rebar number. Now I can also set it to have a leader line. If not, it's just going to appear on the bar. And if I turn it on, you see the line appears above. You can also set the leader length as well. I'm using 5 in this case. So I'm just going to click here and I can come here and click here again. I can just place along the span here to show the different reinforcement, that's the longitudinal bars. Once I'm done, I'll click on modify, and now I can modify it by selecting it. I'll click on edit type, and this opens the family for the rebar tag. If I select it here, I can come here to edit type. I can make customizations to it, can change the font, whatever. But here I'm just going to change the size here to 2, and I'll change the color here to blue. I'll click OK here, and I'll load it back into spreadsheet and close. I'm not going to save it, so I'll click on no. All right, so I'll just overwrite existing version. All right, great. So we'll be doing this quite a lot in all our videos, just changing the overall style. Now I'm going to select this rebar tag here, and you can see that it doesn't have an arrow. So I'll come to edit type. I'll come here and set a leader arrowhead here. I'll use this 20 degrees. All right, good. So you see it appears as black. If I wanted to have a color probably the same as the rebar tag, I can come to the manage tab, click on object styles. If I come to annotation categories, I can search here for rebar tags. Now, of course, you won't have to do all of this if you had a template set up, already. So I'm not going to look for structural rebar tags here. I'll set this here to blue. There we go. Click on apply and OK. And now you can see that it has been reflected across all those rebar tags. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put the multi-rebar tag here for these links. And to do that, we're going to come back here into the Annotate tab. And we're going to click on multi-rebar, so align multi-rebar annotation. I'm going to click here and I'm going to switch here to this structural rebar type. And I'm going to click on edit type. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and change the tag family from this MRA rebar to this quantity type spacing and number 1 line. By the way, if you don't see any of these options, it's most likely you didn't start with the templates that we used earlier on in the video. So that's something you keep in mind. All right, so I'll leave all the other settings as default. I'll click on OK. All right, so now I'm going to make sure that peak position is turned on. I'm going to turn off leader line here, and I'm just going to move over here. You can see here that it's going to select the set of reinforcements. So I'll click here first, and then I'll go ahead and click again, and then I'll go ahead and click again. All right, good. So just going to click on modify first, and you can see it's showing as a dot, and we may not want to use that. Let's just use an arrowhead like this. So if I select it and click on edit type, you can see the dimension style that is using MRA field dot 2mm area. So we're going to look for that. If I come back to Annotate tab and I click on aligned, I'm going to click on the drop down and look for that MRA field dot 2mm, which is this, and I'll select it. I'll click on edit type and I'm going to modify it. So we see here this is the tick mark that is using. So I'll click on the drop down and I'll scroll up and I'll change this to this 20 degrees arrow field. I can also rename it as well, MRA field arrow. All right, great. And I'll click OK. Now if I click on apply, you can see it also changes in the background as well. I can also change the color as well. Let's change it here to blue to match the tag, and you can see it's been updated. All right, great. Now I can come back here to the Annotate tab. I can click on multi-rebar again, and I can still use the same one here. If I come here, I'll click. You can see it allows me to align with the last. I'll click again, and I'll come here and click. In the same way, I can come here, click, and click again. Now in this case here, we may not have a lot of space, so I can click on leader line here. I'll come here, click, and I'll move away here, click, and I can click again to place the tag. All right, great. And that's how we place our tags for the sets of reinforcements, in this case the traversal bars. All right, now let's look how we can detail this section. I'm going to move over here and double click to open up the section. I'll turn off the crop region visible in this view here. There we go. Now I'll select one of the bars. I'll right click, override graphics and view by category. Just want to change the color. So projection line, I'll set this here to solid. I'll set the color here to red. All right, so click on apply. And I'll come here and open the cut lines. I'll set it here to solid, and I'll set this here to red. All right, good. All right, good. So keep in mind that we are using the detail level of medium. All right. So once we've done that, let's go ahead and tag the reinforcement. On the Annotate tab, I'm just going to come back here into multi-rebar. So if I click on it here, make sure you're still using the structural rebar. That's the first one here. That's the one we customized. And I'll make sure that peak position and leader line is turned on in this case. I'll click here and I'll come here and click again. And you can see it allows me to go ahead and place the tag for my reinforcement. So I can come and click here again. There we go. And that is going to reference those. I'll click here again, click here. And this would reference the one at the bottom. All right, if you want to change the position of the tag, you can also select the multi-rebar and you can click on select tag and you can move it here to the side. So just like this, if I select this as well, select tag, I can move it over to the side. In the same way, I can also reference this. So if I just come here, I can use the tag instead of the multi-rebar. So if I come to tag by category, I can just come here. I can make sure that my leader length is longer. So I'll set it here to maybe around 10. And I'll come here and click. If I move away a bit, you can see that this also references this as well. All right, good. So once you're done, just modify. You might also need to add dimensions as well. So let's come back and click on aligned. And we're using let's go ahead and use what we've been using earlier on. That is the Arial 2.5 mm arrow field. So I'll select here and I'll select here, place it here. One here, and place it here. Great. And that's how we detail our sections. Now let's look at how we can create a view template here. So we can go ahead and apply it to any other subsequent beam elevation that we're using. So what we're going to do, first of all, I'm going to come to the Manage tab and I'm going to go ahead and set or create a new project parameter. That will be the reason why we created this section type in the first place, if you've been following. So I'm just going to come here. I'm going to click on project parameters. I'm just going to come here and click on new parameter. I'm going to call this here rebar. Let's call this direction X. All right, good. And for the discipline, I'll set it to common data type here. I'm going to set it here to text and I'm going to group it under identity data. Now I want it here to be an instance parameter and I'll leave its values aligned per group type as well. For the category, I'll set here for rebar. All right, so it's going to apply to the structural rebar. Now I'm going to click OK and you can see we have a new project parameter and I'll click OK. Now since it applies to structural rebar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of these bars here and you see if we scroll down here to identity data, we can now see rebar direction. So I'm just going to set this parameter here. I'll type here X, okay, or I'll click on apply. All right, so actually this is meant to just be rebar direction, not rebar direction X. So let me just go ahead and quickly make the updates. So I'll just come back here into project parameters. I'll click on this. I'll click on edits. Just go ahead and remove this. There we go. Rebar direction. There we go. Great. All right, good. So you see that it's also be updated here as well under the identity data. So X. So I want to do it for all the reinforcements in this beam elevation. So I'll select one. Right click and I'll click on select all rebar in host. All right, so if I scroll down here, you see that it varies because we haven't set for some. So I'll set it here to X. All right, good. Now, what is the reason for this? I'm going to set a filter to this view to make sure that any reinforcement that doesn't have that parameter for X doesn't show. So to do that, I'm just going to come to my visibility graphics here. I'll scroll up over here and I'll click on that visibility graphics override. I'll click on edit. I'll come to filters and I'll go ahead and click on add. And I'm going to click on edit on new. I'm going to create a new filter. So to do that, I'll click on new here. I'll call this here rebar, or rather, yeah, rebar direction X. All right, so this is where I meant to call it rebar direction X. So define rows, click OK. So click on this here. And I'm just going to go over here and search for structural rebar. That's under the categories. So search here for structural rebar. There we go. I'll check it here. And the rule here is that anything that doesn't have X should not appear in this view. So I'll set it here to, that should be rebar direction. That is the new parameter that we created here. Okay. Does not equal to X. I'll click on apply. So that is a new filter. I'll select this one as well. And I'm going to duplicate. And I'll select this and I'll rename this. And I'll call this here Y. All right, good. Now for this one, anything that does not equal to Y. So I'll set here Y and we'll use this later on. All right, good. Now I want to bring in this too. So I'll hold down my control key, select the two and I'll click OK. Now let's see what happens. If we go ahead and turn off the visibility for X, if we click on apply, you can see here that nothing happens, and I'll show you exactly why that is. If I click OK, for instance, and I select this bar, if I go ahead and scroll down and I set it, for instance, to Y, and I click on apply, you can see it no longer appears in this view. This is very useful, especially when you don't want sectional reinforcement to show in other beams. So let's go ahead and go back a bit. All right, so I bring that reinforcement back. Now let's create a view template from here. So I'll come to the view tab here, and I come here to view templates, and I'll click on create templates from current view. I'll call this here beam elevation X direction. All right, great. And I'll click OK, and I'll make sure everything is set as this, and I'll click OK. Now let's create a view template from this section view. I'm just going to go ahead and open it up, and we're going to come here to the view tab, and I'm going to click on view templates, create view templates from current view. I'll call this rather beam detail view. All right, beam detail view. All right, and click OK, and I'll just come here and accept everything as default. Now keep in mind, when you create a view template from a view, it's not directly applied to the view. So if I come to identity data here, I can come here and click, and I can apply that template. So if anything changes to this template, it also affects this view as well. Now if I come back here, I can go ahead and open up another beam detail view, open it up like this, and I can apply that view template. You can see it takes those settings as well. Now in this new view, I can go ahead and put the same details, such as the dimensions. I'll use the shortcut DI. I'll add my dimension to the both sides here. All right, great. And I can come here, I can use my annotate tool, that is the tag by category. I'll just come here, place this, and I can just kind of move this away. All right, and then I can come and use my multi-rebar annotation tool. I'll select this, and I can place this one here. In the same way, I can come here, select this, and I can place this one here. All right, great. And that would what you do for that's what you're going to do for every other section view as well. Now let's go ahead and detail another beam. I'm going to come here and open up the level 2 plan. As you can see, this was one of the first things we did, and this was our first beam elevation. Let's detail the beam elevation in another direction. So this is going to be our direction Y. So to quickly do that, I can either come here and create another beam detail like this. And what I'm going to do, just to save time, is I'm going to select this one here, and I'm going to click on rotate. So I'll click on rotate. I'll come here and click on place center of rotation. I'll place it here. All right, good. And I'll make sure that copy is turned on. I'll come here, click, and I'll move in this direction at exactly 90 degrees. All right, so we've created a new section while still maintaining this one. I'm going to come here and I'm going to rename this here to beam 4 because this is according to beam 4. All right, great. Likewise as well, I'm also going to as well change this to beam direction Y. So if I click on edit type, I'll come here and duplicate, and I'll call this here beam direction Y, and I'll click OK. All right, good. Now let's go ahead and open it up. So if I do that, I can just come here, I can double click to open up that view. All right, great. So you can see we have reinforcements in the other direction. I'll show you how we can fix this quite shortly. All right, so before we do that, on the level 2, I'm just going to make sure that the extent doesn't go all the way down. So I'll select it, and I'll drag this one back here or to this point. There we go. If I come back to beam 4, let's go ahead and do the basic detailing. So I'll just come here and use my dimension. I just come to modify tab. I can use dimension here. So dimension between the spans, then put the full span here as well. There we go. I want to move this down a bit, so I'll select it too. All right, good. And I'll also dimension below, so DI. I'll select this here, this here, this here, this here, and this here. All right, so I'll place this dimension just below. All right, great. All right, likewise as well, I also want to place those column cut marks. So I can actually come to my beam 1 here, and I can copy this by selecting this. I can just come here and click on copy to clipboard. If I come to beam 4 here, I can come here and paste, and you see it allows me to paste it where I want, so I can just move it around here and paste. There we go. I can select it a bit, just nudge it to my arrow keys to fall on the center, and I can come here and click on copy. All right, so this copy is different from this one. So this copy here is within a view. So I just come here and copy. I'll copy one here as well. All right, great. Now I'm going to hold down Control key, select all of them, and I'm going to use the mirror draw axis. Find the center of this beam, click here, and make sure that copy is turned on. Move all the way here, and you can see I've mirrored it to the bottom. Now I'm going to add a beam section which will enable us to model the reinforcements. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and do something to that section. So I can come to the View tab, click on Section, and I'll make sure it's set here to, that's the beam detail view. I'll come to Edit Type here, and I'm going to change the identity data for templates that will affect the new view. So I'll click here, and I'll set it here to the beam detail view. This way, any new section that I create out of this will take that template automatically. I also set here new views are dependent on this template. I click on Apply and OK. Alright, so this will save you a lot of time. So if I click here and I click here, I'll just go ahead and add a gap in elements. I'll drag this file clip offset a bit, and you can see that it already has the beam detail view. Let's go ahead and give it a name. I'll call this here beam1_1. Alright, I'll click on Apply. Now if I open this up, you can see automatically it has this beam detail view. So I'm just going to just drag this extent a bit. Alright, so it just focuses on this beam here. Alright, this is quite important, especially when you start placing it on sheets. Okay, great. So if I select this beam now, I can click on Rebar, and I'm just going to scroll down and start with my traversal bars. So set here to 52. I'll set the layout here to maximum spacing. Let's use 250. Press Enter, and we're going to set it here parallel to work plane. All right, so good. So we'll set this as well to 10 mm bars. All right, and I'll place. And you can see it has that color. And in the same way as well, I'm just going to come here, and I'll come and set this here to straight bar. I'll set this here to 16 mm bars, and I'll set it to parallel to cover. So if I place it here, I'll place one here at the bottom. You can see that has been set. All right, good. Now you will notice that if you come back to this view here, we can't see any reinforcements. The reason for that is because it does not have a rebar layer. So if I select this reinforcement, for instance, I'll set it here, select it like this using the Control key. I'll scroll down, and I'm going to set it here to rebar direction X. So watch closely. Now when I set it to rebar direction X, if I come back to beam 4, we can now see the reinforcements. But keep in mind that this should be rebar direction Y. So I'm going to come back here, and I'll set it here to Y. So I'll scroll down, and I'll set this to Y. So I'll just type here Y. We haven't set Y before. If I click on Apply and I come back to beam 4, you see it's not visible. But here's the catch. We can come back here to View Template. We come to None, and we'll come here and select this rebar elevation X direction, and we're going to duplicate it. So let's call this here beam elevation. We'll call this here Y direction. All right, good. Now we're just going to come here to Visibility Graphics Filters. We click on Edit, and we'll turn off the X, and then we'll turn on the Y. We'll click on Apply, and we click OK, and then we click OK here, and now you see it is the Y reinforcement that is set. Another good tip as well is that under this section type, we can come to Edit Type, and then for these new views, I'll set it here to be the Y. All right, and then all the new views will be dependent on this template. All right, good. In the same way, I'll come to beam 1, where we have rebar direction Y, or beam direction X rather. If I come here, I'll set this here to X, and new views will be dependent on this template as well. All right, good. So that really saves a lot of time in setting up the views. Now in this new view, let's just go ahead and modify the reinforcement. So first of all, I'll select this bar, and I'll just make sure that it doesn't touch the support face. All right, great. And I'm just going to have it selected. I'll click on copy here, and I'm going to paste one in this direction. All right, good. In the same way, I'll select this long bar here. All right, and just move it all to the end. Do the same thing as well for this one here as well. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and set the rebar hooks. So I'll select this one here, scroll up, and I'll set a hook at start. I'll set it here to 90 degrees. All right, and the hook at end as well, I'll set it here to 90 degrees. For this one here, I'll go ahead and set the hook at end to 90 degrees and hook at start as well to 90 degrees. And you can see it goes in the opposite direction. So you could actually just come here to hook at start and then set this to 180, and then hook at end, and I'll set this to 180 as well. And I can just drag it away so they don't clash with each other. All right, great. So just like that, we have set the presentation. So I'll just select one of these bars and I'll hold down Control key, select this set as well, and I'll change the presentation to first and last inset. All right, good. Now this doesn't exceed 11 or 12 meters, so this is fine. We don't need to splice this. So we can go ahead and tag. If I just come here to the Annotate tab, I'll click on tag by category. I'll set this here to 5. If I come here, I can go ahead and put my tag. I'll place one here as well. That's fine. And now I can go ahead and place my multi-rebar tag. I'll come here, and I don't want the leader line in this case, so I'll select here. I'll come and click here, and I'll place this tag here, select here, and then I'll place this tag here. All right, just like that, we have detailed the view for the Y direction. Now you might notice that the elevations appear inside the view, so we don't want that for presentation. So we're going to come to the view template here, and we're going to come here into filters. All right, so we need to go ahead and create a new filter. So I'll come here and click on add, click on edit or new, and I'll come here and click on new. So this filter is going to affect sections. So I'm going to call this here beam elevation sections. All right, good. So I press enter, and I'm going to go ahead and search here for sections. So just going to scroll down. There we go. And I'm going to set this rule here to or, since I want to use 2 elevation types. I'll come here and set this here to family and type. I'll say equals to, and I'll set it here to direction X. I'll add another rule here and set here to family and type equals to. I'll set this here to direction Y. Now I'll click on apply, and I'll click on OK. And now I'll go ahead and select this and click OK. I'll select this and I'll move it downwards, and I'll turn off the visibility. Now if I click on apply, you can see it's no longer visible inside this template. I'll click OK. Now let's do it for the one in the X direction. First of all, let's set the template for the X direction. So I'll set it like this, click on apply, and now I'll come here to filters, and all we have to do is just come here and click on add. We'll come here, select beam elevation sections, click on it, I'll just move it down, and I'll turn off the visibility. Now if I click on apply, you can see it's no longer visible in this view. Now let's go back to the plan view. I'm just going to go ahead and open up level 2, and you will notice here that some of the reinforcements are kind of visible, so we don't want that in the plan view. So to do this, or to fix this, we're just going to come here to visibility graphics overrides, and I'll search here under model category. I'll search here for rebar. I'll go ahead and turn it off and click apply. Likewise as well, in this plan view, I don't want to have the elevation show. We just need it when we are actually placing the elevation. So we can actually just come here to filters, we can click on add. I'll come here and select the beam elevations sections. I'll click OK, and you can turn off the visibility. You can see they are no longer visible, but let's leave it on for now. All right, good. So let's go ahead and create another elevation for beam 2. All right, so beam 2 is the only one that doesn't have a similar detail. You can see this is 450, 600, and 450. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this elevation here. All right, and I'm just going to click on copy, click here, and I'll come here and click here. Once I'm done, I'll click on modify. Now if I select it, you can see this is now beam 2. That's fine. I'll go ahead and open it up, and you can see that we have varying beam depths. All right, good. So once that's been done, I'll go to beam 1, and I can quickly select these dimensions. I'll hold down the control key, select 3 of them, and I can click on copy. If I come to beam 2, since they are along the same path, I can come to paste and click align to current view, and you can see the dimensions have been placed. All right, now we're going to go ahead and model the reinforcements, but instead of doing that, let's do something a bit easier. So if I come back here into beam 1, all right, we're just going to go ahead and select all the reinforcements. I'll right click, I'll go ahead and click on select all instances in the select all rebar in the host, like that. And while it's being selected, I'll go to level 2. All right, so you can see that they are inside here. I'm going to click on copy, and I'll click here, and I'll move here and paste. I'll click on modify. Now if I come into beam 2, you can see the exact reinforcement is inside here, but we're going to make some modifications. First of all, you can see they have a varying depth here, so I'm going to select this bar. I'll click on edit sketch. I'll remove these 2 segments. I'll just go ahead and press delete after selecting, and I'll move it all the way to this point here. All right, great. I'll go ahead and click on finish. And the next thing I'll do is I'll select this traversal bar, and I'm going to go ahead and drag it down so it covers the whole extent. There we go. And now I need to put sections so I can model the reinforcements at the bottom here. So what I'll do is I'll come here to level 2 and you can see the section view. So this is quite useful. Instead of going to create it again, I'll select the section view like this, hold down the control key, select the section view here, and I can also select this one here as well. All right, and I'm going to click on the copy tool. All right, so I'll click here and then I'll move down and paste. I'll press escape. Now if I come into beam 2, you can see it here, but we need to rename it. All right, so instead this is not going to be beam 1, this is going to be beam 2 1. There we go. And likewise as well, this is going to be beam, let's call this beam 2 3, and we'll call this here beam 2 4. And the reason why I left the space is because I want to add another section here. So I'll select this, I'll type CO for copy. That's the shortcut CO. Oops, so CO, there we go. I'll copy and then I'll paste it here. Great. And I'll just move this down a bit. I can also move the annotation as well. Now if you select it here, you can see this is beam 2 2. And if I go ahead and open it up, you can see I can go ahead and place my reinforcements. So I'll select the beam like this and I'll come here and click on rebar. All right, so I want it to be straight. So I'll set it here to H16. And before I place it, I can also as well set the layer. So in this case here, the rebar direction should be set here to X. All right, good. So that way it will be visible. I'll come here and place it here and I'll press escape. Now if I come back here into beam 2, we can see our reinforcements. We can also as well add a detail to show it entering all this other bars as well if we want. So I'll come here and click on edit sketch. You can select it here. There we go. I just come here and add a bar just like this. And I can just come here. Let's say I wanted to enter this bar like this. Great. I'll select this bar segment as well. I'll come here and type DM or use the shortcuts to mirror to the other axis. And I'll just come here and trim just like this and then click on finish. All right, so there are two ways around it. So in this case here, that means this bar doesn't need to come all the way to this point. So I can just go ahead and extend it back here. And in the same way, I can select this bar and I can extend this here. All right, good. Now I'll select all the traversal bars, hold down the control key to select them like this. And I'll set it here to first and last insert. All right, great. Oops, we missed one. So let's just select this and set it to first and last insert. Now let's go ahead and tag our reinforcements. On the Annotate tab, we're going to come here and click on tag by category. I'll leave the leader line on, set this here to 5. I'll click here, click here, click here, I'll click here, click here, and I'll click here. Good. Now back to the Annotate tab, I'll click on the multi rebar. All right, and we're going to turn off leader line here. I'll come here, click, I'll click here, and I'll place this one here. I'll click here, and I'll place this here, click here. All right, and then the last one here, I might need a leader line, so I can, oops, press escape. So click here, and I can come here and click, and I can actually move to this side if I just don't want it to be above. So I'll just click here. All right, there we go. If I press escape, you can see we're now done with that detail. All right, since we're done detailing all our typical beams, I can come back to level 2 and I can decide to now hide these elevations. Now, if I come back here to visibility graphics overrides, I'll click on edit. If I come to filters, I can now turn off the visibility. But keep in mind that the beam detail views are still visible here. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new filter, edit on new, and we're going to go ahead and create a new template or a new view, what do you call it, view filter rather. So we'll call this here beam detail. All right, great. And then I'm just going to click OK. And I'm just going to come here and look for sections. There we go. All right, sections. Great, sections, good. And then I'm going to set it to family and type. So we just need one, so we don't need to change this to or. And I'm going to set here equals to. And I'm going to look for, yes, detail views, beam. I'll click on apply and OK. So I'm going to select beam detail, all right. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK. That's it. And I can turn off the visibility. If I click apply, you can see they are no longer visible here. And once you've set this, you can actually create a view template for this plan view. So you can apply it to other plans as you go upwards. So if I come to view, I can come to view templates, create view templates from current view. I'll call this here structural plan. All right. And I'll just go ahead and click OK. All right, good. So just go ahead and save it. You might as well also want to apply to this view as well. All right, set this here to structural plan, apply, and OK. There we go. And we've come to the last lap. That's how we detail beams in Revit. Thanks for watching this video. As you know by now, setting up views for detailing in Revit without a proper template can be really tedious and time consuming. Streamline your entire process with our best-selling emerald green structural templates. Find the link to purchase the template in the description of our video. This template comes with customized view templates, loaded families and components, and a bonus lake house reference model which you can use to see how everything is put together. Alright, great. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.